right, everybody, welcome back. This is Beetle Beast on the ground in Sedona, Arizona. This is our ChatGPT fed best scenic flights. I guess this is number 3, or state number 3. We've already done Alabama, Alaska, and this is Arizona. Here we are, like I said, in Sedona, and the proper route of this flight is going from Sedona to Grand Canyon Airport, GCN. It's the Grand Canyon National Park Airport to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Anyway, we won't take too long here on the ground. It's a bit of a flight up there. I imagine it's going to take us somewhere about 45 minutes or so. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take off, get this thing going, and we can talk more as we go. We got power in. A little bit of funky rudder. Alright, that looks pretty good. And we're climbing. Apparently somebody else is at the wrong end of the runway. Winds are definitely favoring the north. It is about 7 a.m. out of here. Should give us some pretty decent views here as we climb across. It should make the terrain a little bit dramatic. The airplane has disappeared, the one that we saw at least. Go ahead and take our flaps up. So yeah, so the initial impressions from everything that I had read here from ChatGPT once again regarding what would be the most impressive or most scenic flight in the state of Arizona, I was 100% expecting that the words Grand Canyon would be mentioned in that description somewhere. Obviously, initially climbing out of Sedona here, of course, up on the plateau, you have some really awesome terrain that's immediately around here, such as the ones we just saw to the north here, the peaks that were there. I know there's about oh gosh, there are at least 3 or 4 peaks that were actually named. I think one of them is like Bell's Peak. There's another one down Cathedral Butte, I believe, and I can't remember the third one. That are down here to the south of the airport. I'm just going to kind of cross midfield, and then we'll turn back up to the north again. But yeah, I mean, it's impressive scenery. It's cool. I like it. I dig it. That airplane's still sitting down there. I guess we just flown over him slightly before. He doesn't actually show up as an airplane, just lights. Okay, so we're going to keep that turn coming back around towards the north. So we will be kind of flying up near Flagstaff, which is an airport I have flown into quite a few times. It's always actually a really pretty airport to go in and operate out of. I always am amazed by the amount of greenery and shrubbery, that you have in Arizona at that airfield. As compared to the southern Arizona airfields, if you get down around Phoenix, you get down around Tucson, you don't see greenery minus cactus, but up this way you do. And actually up around Flagstaff, there's just a ton of trees. I think the last time we were here, actually, we drove down this way towards Sedona, specifically because there were a couple of roads down there that were just really cool. I also got a chance to fly some down to Prescott, Arizona, ages ago in a Learjet, and I remember that being absolutely gorgeous. Also, some of the most gorgeous night driving. Kind of scary when you're going up mountain roads at night, but the sky was a level of clear and with a lack of light pollution like I had not seen ever. The Milky Way was as visible as it is in the middle of nowhere, mostly because we're in the middle of nowhere. And I know that it was I think it's a dark town, so they minimize your light pollution as well. And I've had the same experience up in, I think it's Lake Powell, the recreation area here in Page, Arizona. So, all cool places. This terrain, like I said, is it's cool. I think this flight right now will be significantly more impressive in Flight Sim 2024, just based off of what I'm seeing here. Yes, the elevation data looks really good, but the shadows that they've placed on the terrain, which is based off of the capture that they get for the elevation data, is not very good. It's not very convincing. Doesn't give you a lot of, wow, this is really amazing. It's kind of a lot of dark valleys that are way darker than they should be based off of where the light's currently coming across. Now this valley over here to the right, and that looks really good. But yeah, the one to the left here leaves a lot to be desired. That could be significantly better. And I am kind of curious. Like I said, I think I've flown around Grand Canyon here at some point in time, but I don't know when. It's definitely been a while. It hasn't been anything recent. The foliage up here on top of these mountains is really good. It's really, it's very believable. But it's just the way the terrain is masked. The textures are masked over top of the terrain data, which, you lose some sense of the actual value because it's stretching it and pulling it. It's pulling a flat image over a vertical displacement, so you end up with colors that don't quite read as properly as they should. There's probably an angle based off the aircraft data when they were flying over and capturing the actual images. There's probably an angle where it does look proper, but because of the way that it stretches, it's only going to look correct from that one particular vantage, and everything else is always going to be just a little bit off, unless you've got the imagery rectified regarding the actual the location data, and then have multiple passes in multiple directions so that you can make up a true 3D image map to lay on top of your terrain elevation data. And if you can do both of those, you probably have a much better representation of the world. But the amount of time it would take to even get that type of data, especially when you're looking at it from multiple data sources, multiple days of capture, etc., the amount of information it would be absolutely insane. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Let's head up here, just kind of keep trucking towards the north. I know we're a little bit off of our course right now. Flagstaff should be right up here to the north, and there's actually a couple of mountains that are near Flagstaff that were mentioned by ChatGPT. I do believe they were, and I'm going to have to correct myself if I'm wrong, but I think they were the San Francisco peaks. I know that it was the mountain range has several peaks that are in there. It looks like it was an old volcano. It says it exploded, erupted approximately 400,000 years ago or something similar to that effect, when I was doing some Googling on it. But that's there. I know that the elevation of that mountain is somewhere around 9,000 feet, so we won't be able to get over it directly. Actually, the mountain itself is higher than that. I think it's around 12,000 feet. So I'm not going to be able to get over that in the Cub. We're just going to kind of cruise in that direction. We'll scoot ourselves around it, but I do believe it should be the one that's pointed almost straight ahead of me right now. I didn't make any modifications to this flight plan. A few of the sites that I mentioned, the National Forest is over here to our right. It kind of stretches actually further to the right there, but we kind of go over part of the edge of it here as it works its way towards the west. The peaks that were just south of Sedona that I've already mentioned, and then the peaks that were up, of course, just to the northwest of Flagstaff were also mentioned. In addition to all of that, you have, of course, Grand Canyon at the culmination of the flight, which, if you look at Grand Canyon National Park Airport, GCN, which is where we'll be landing, that airport is to the southern edge of the Grand Canyon, so you actually won't overfly the canyon at all. So my thought process right now is that we will continue going in the direction of the airport. We'll probably fly over the canyon and then kind of work our way back to the south and do the landing at GCN, so we can kind of see that as well. But I 110% believe everything that's said about how beautiful Sedona would have been. Like I said, I've been through Sedona, and it's lovely. So I 100% believe that, yes, that would have been incredibly scenic. I think it was just the terrain data kind of lets you down inside of Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 regarding that airfield. Oh, sorry, not regarding the airfield. The airfield's actually modeled really well. I think that you might start off here for some of your pilot training in the original build of Flight Sim 2020. I think that that's where the 150 training, your first takeoffs and landings are kind of done. I think they're in this area. Strange looking. Looks like military bunkers. Like some type of U.S. Army proving ground for tanks. Honestly, I would not be surprised if that's exactly what it is, but it's very muddy. Yeah, got more over here. Looks like we're about even with the cloud layer. Might descend down just a little bit. I was trying to just get a little bit more elevation to get past some of the hills up here, but we might just go back down a wee bit so that we don't lose any visual with, well, I say visual with the ground. I don't really need it so much, but so we can at least see some of the sites that are supposed to make this scenic. So we'll just go ahead and descend down just a bit. A lot of tracks right out here. Once again, we're definitely further away from that military installation, so I don't think that's it. But something's out there driving around and making lots of ruts. There's someone's dropping ordnance in it. It's probably the attack range. All right, 30 miles from the destination. Like I said, we'll go a little north of it, and then work our way back around here towards the airport itself. So I guess we'll fly probably directly across the rim of the canyon and work our way back. Alright, looks like it's about to open up and be incredibly flat, meaning incredibly boring. So let's make it more interesting. That at least looks a little better. Oh, that could be bad, huh? Set of power lines coming across, and apparently a road that's... Oh, there's the interstate. Haha. Looks like there's a road coming up. We're in the shadow of something, it feels like, right here. Maybe just a cloud. Might have got one. If we did, the tires aren't spinning anymore. $13 miles, we're getting close. We got more power lines down there. And here we go. $10 just got to get around this mountain. Say over, but I don't know if we'll be out climbing it in the cub, and we will be incredibly slow when we get up top. So let's go, baby, go. We can give it a try, I guess. You know what? We're here to have some fun, right? Let's see if we can make it over. Just getting slow. Yeah, it's that. Alright, another 8 miles and we'll be at the airfield. A little bit further than that, we'll be at the canyon. Go ahead and let her accelerate right here. So right there, I think we're starting to get the edge of the canyon itself, just to the north, almost straight north, about 1 o'clock. You can see one lip right there. That looks about right. So if there's ever a chance for us to find other players at this time in this game, the canyon's probably it. Despite the fact of us seeing somebody on the ground in Sedona. Alright, so our airport should be right there. That one that we see just off to the left. So those will be the hangars that we'll be looking for when we come back. And the canyon is directly ahead of us at this time. You know, one of my good friends had actually moved out to the Vegas area, and his first job out of college, after flight instructing, was doing Grand Canyon tours. I think the company was Scenic Airways. I think they had Twin Otters at the time, and they would take people who had paid money out of Vegas and zip them around the canyon for a little bit and fly outbound. I think they had requirements, rules. You're not allowed to fly, or they weren't allowed to fly down in the canyon. I think they had an accident down there ages upon ages upon ages ago, in which 2 aircraft had a midair flying in the canyon, and that was kind of a no-go. So after that, they decided that wouldn't be allowed anymore, so the tours had to be conducted above the canyon itself. But it always seemed like a really cool job. I know it was very early in both of our aviation careers, and it didn't pay much. He had to find a place to live out in Vegas without a whole lot of money to do it in. Found himself a roommate and made an absolute best of it. But he was very happy to move on and move out of there when the time came. But I think he enjoyed his time flying the Twin Otter. Like most of us, we weren't making a ton of money back in those days, and in so many ways we had probably some of the best fun we had ever had in aviation during those early days of flying, those early days of instructing, and You know, in my case, my early dates at the airlines. So I think it was quite an adventure. It's pretty awesome looking over there with the clouds and fog to the east with the sun kind of casting in and giving all of that additional, I would say it's obscuring the terrain quite a bit. It's neat looking, gives a cool effect. Kind of how we talked about earlier, the terrain obviously has issues directly at those peaks of the canyon walls. The vertical terrain has a problem there. And knowing what, a site the Grand Canyon is, and just how popular it would be for any flight simmer to want to fly around, that would have seemed like something that you would have gotten, I won't say right, because I mean, still, if you look at the scale of this game, it's still significantly more ambitious than anything that had come before it. And even still, I don't know, you see, and then I guess from right here, that looks pretty darn good. But this could be that angle that I was talking about. That looks pretty decent, but when you get up close to it, you notice, I don't know what's going on right there, but when you get up close to it, you can start seeing the terrain, the textures start to kind of break down a little bit more. And I know I've got my textures set to, I think the textures are set to ultra right now. And the world detail has been cranked up quite a bit too, so this is fairly high performance specs still being kicked out by the system for VR, obviously. But yeah, from this far away, it looks really good. From this far away, everything in here looks really, really good. But as we approach the edge of that cliff, you can see that the terrain textures have been stretched, quite extensively. Which, I don't want to say it hurts it, but it can if you're close and you're looking at it. The initial moment that I think existed, had we been able to see it in, kind of all of its glory, was taken away right as we crossed the edge of the terrain. Right as we cross the edge of the cliff face there. Got a wind coming out of the north from here, it looks like. But yeah, right here on this side, where you've got a lot of plants, foliage, vegetation and stuff, it doesn't look as bad. It looks kind of rough and stretched down there to below that, just underneath the vegetation. But up here where it's all kind of mixed together, it's really actually pretty decent looking. It's just that initial area here, any area where the rock is kind of naked and exposed to itself, that is where it looks a little bit rough. And like I said, I know that on 2024 they've made some big changes here, so we will definitely be doing a Grand Canyon 2024 tour upon the release of that game, because they have made changes. There are now rocks and pebbles that have been modeled within the game. The terrain map now features that variation, um, and their ability to actually capture the elevation data down to a much more minute reading. Essentially, if you look at something and you say you have a 10-meter resolution, you're essentially getting square blocks that are 10 meters wide, and that's still not bad. If you have a 3-meter resolution, it's the same, it's just better, obviously, by a factor of 3. But then if you were to look at it and have 1-meter resolution, you're now 10 times better in terms of the data that you've collected, in terms of either imagery or elevation. And obviously both of those are important, and it's so important to have them where they're kind of meshed up properly, because if you don't, then you're kind of mixing and matching an amazing image over top of substandard terrain data, or vice versa, and you end up with something that is obviously a compromise, or you're having to use AI to try to map it and fix it so that it looks proper. But no, I mean, the terrain itself is cool. I'm gonna go land up here, and then if you guys stick around for like another, I don't know, a few minutes, I'm gonna redo a setting, and I'm gonna come back up to the north, and we're gonna fly over it one more time. All right, so we've obviously changed a little something here. We have moved it. The sun is now setting here at the Grand Canyon. Just wanted to see what the views kind of felt like with the sun in the opposite direction, and that sky turning its those beautiful pinks and purples, and yeah, that's solid. I didn't want to really break the level of immersion by simply making the swap while we were up here, so I thought I'd make the couple minutes of flying back here by myself again and just take a peek. Kind of appreciate it just a little bit more. All right, everyone. So once again, thanks for tuning in, checking out this little flight of Arizona and its most scenic sites based off of ChatGPT. From what I'm seeing here, I don't think that no, I don't think ChatGPT was wrong. So, thank you all for watching. Happy simming. And if you've got your own place in Arizona that you think is even better than any of the stuff that we've seen here, shout it out, put it in the comments. And if you do, I promise I will check that out, and you can help all the other flight simmers out there who are currently wandering about in Flight Sim 2024 or in Flight Sim 2020 while anxiously awaiting Flight Sim 2024. So thank you guys again, and take care. Happy simming.